My name is Olivia Clark. I'm 31 years old, and I had just returned from a grueling week of software development deadlines to find my house completely dark and eerily silent, slowly realizing that my entire extended family, parents Donald and Sharon, my brother Marcus, aunts, uncles, cousins, and their children totaling 19 relatives across 5 cars, had departed for their annual luxury vacation without telling me, using a group chat that had deliberately excluded me from months of planning and, coordination. What made this abandonment infinitely more devastating was discovering that I had unknowingly funded their entire $18,700 vacation through automatic payments and pre-authorized bookings they had established on my accounts, treating me as their personal financing system while celebrating my exclusion from the family experiences my money was creating. What my family didn't know was that their calculated conspiracy to use my financial resources while systematically excluding me from their communications and celebrations was about to trigger the most spectacular vacation collapse in our family's history, because every reservation, rental, and prepaid activity was booked under my name and credit cards, giving me the power to destroy their holiday in real time while they were already at their destination, enjoying my generosity without my presence. The systematic exclusion that would ultimately expose my family's true priorities had been developing gradually over several years as my software engineering career flourished, and my income became the invisible foundation that enabled elaborate family gatherings, luxury accommodations, and expensive activities that my relatives had come to consider normal rather than extraordinary privileges funded by my professional success. My role as the family's unconscious financier had begun innocently enough when I started contributing to holiday celebrations and birthday parties during my early career growth, offering to cover restaurant bills and entertainment expenses as a way of sharing my good fortune with relatives who had supported my educational goals and celebrated my professional achievements. "Olivia's doing so well with her technology career," my mother Sharon would tell extended family members. "And she's generous about helping with family expenses when we want to do something special together." The gradual expansion of my financial responsibility for family events had seemed natural and voluntary initially, as my increasing income created opportunities to upgrade family experiences from basic gatherings to luxury celebrations that created memorable experiences for children, elderly relatives, and everyone who participated in our extended family activities. Family vacation planning is so much easier when Olivia handles the technical details and booking arrangements. My father Donald would explain to relatives who were impressed by the seamless coordination and premium accommodations that characterized our annual trips and reunion events. But while my financial contributions were becoming more substantial and comprehensive, my actual participation in family planning discussions was simultaneously decreasing, as relatives seemed to assume that my involvement was limited to providing funding and logistical support rather than participating in decision-making or celebration activities. "Olivia's always working on her computer projects," family members would say when discussing vacation timing and activity preferences, "so we don't need to include her in every planning conversation since she's usually too busy to attend family events anyway." The characterization of my career dedication as incompatibility with family fun was particularly ironic, considering that my computer projects were generating the income that funded their luxury travel, gourmet dining, and premium entertainment experiences that they were planning without my input or participation. My work schedule as a senior software engineer was demanding but manageable, requiring focused periods for product development and client deliverables, but allowing considerable flexibility for planned personal time and family activities that were scheduled with adequate advance notice. "Software development requires concentrated work periods," I would explain to family members who assumed my career prevented vacation participation. "But planned family trips can be accommodated with proper project planning and deadline management." Despite my repeated explanations about work flexibility and vacation availability, my family seemed to prefer maintaining their narrative that portrayed my career as incompatible with family enjoyment, which conveniently allowed them to exclude me from planning while maintaining access to the financial resources my career provided. The group chat that I discovered had been operating without my inclusion contained months of detailed vacation planning conversations, accommodation preferences, activity coordination, and excited discussions about luxury experiences that my money was enabling, while my presence was treated as optional or even undesirable. "Can't wait for family vacation without all the work talk," one message had read, apparently referring to my presence as an intrusion that would diminish their relaxation and enjoyment, rather than recognizing that my career success was enabling their comfort and luxury. The coordination messages revealed that my family had been actively planning to exclude me from communications, while ensuring that my financial support continued through automated payment systems they had established to access my accounts and credit cards for vacation expenses without requiring my direct involvement or approval. "Olivia's payment setup is automated for all the vacation expenses," Marcus had written in the group chat, "so we don't need to involve her in the booking discussions or activity planning, since everything processes automatically from her accounts." The casual way they discussed accessing my financial resources while excluding me from experiences those resources were creating revealed a level of entitlement and exploitation that I had never fully recognized or understood, despite years of increasing financial responsibility for family activities. My credit card statements and bank records showed comprehensive vacation expenses that included luxury resort rentals, premium rental vehicles, gourmet dining reservations, guided tours, entertainment packages, and travel insurance that totaled thousands of dollars per family trip, while I remained unaware of the scope and cost of experiences I was funding. Clark family vacation packages include luxury accommodations, rental cars, prepaid activities, restaurant reservations, and entertainment expenses. Booking agents would confirm when I reviewed my financial records. Comprehensive travel arrangements for extended family groups requiring substantial advance planning and deposit payments. The elaborate nature of vacation arrangements that I was unknowingly funding revealed that my family had been planning and enjoying increasingly expensive and luxurious experiences while maintaining their narrative that I was too busy or disinterested to participate in family celebrations and bonding activities. The automatic payment systems that enabled their vacation planning had been established gradually over several years, as family members gained access to my financial accounts for legitimate expenses like medical emergencies and temporary assistance. But those authorizations had expanded to include comprehensive lifestyle funding, without my explicit knowledge or ongoing consent. "Emergency access to Olivia's accounts helps with unexpected family expenses," Donald had explained when initially requesting financial authorization, "and automatic payments ensure that important bills get handled even when she's busy with work deadlines and project commitments." But the emergency access and automatic payments had evolved into comprehensive family vacation funding that subsidized luxury lifestyle choices, while I remained excluded from planning discussions and often from participation in experiences that my money was creating for relatives who had stopped viewing my contributions as generous gifts rather than expected services. The Christmas holiday season when I discovered their collective departure had been particularly intense at work, with multiple client deliverables and product launches requiring extended hours and weekend coordination with development teams across different time zones and project requirements. "Year-end software releases require intensive coordination," I had explained to family members during brief phone conversations, "but holiday vacation time is protected for family activities once current project phases are completed and delivered to clients." Despite my explanations about work demands and holiday availability, my family had apparently proceeded with vacation planning that assumed my absence, rather than accommodating my schedule or including me in timing discussions that might have enabled my participation. The empty house that greeted my return from work carried an atmosphere of deliberate abandonment rather than temporary absence, with obvious signs that multiple families had coordinated their departure with luggage, travel supplies, and vacation preparation materials that suggested extended travel rather than day trips or brief visits. The rental cars that family members typically used for group coordination were absent from neighborhood driveways, along with the suitcases, travel accessories, and vacation equipment that usually cluttered relatives' homes during departure preparation periods before major family trips. "Something's different," I thought as I walked through rooms that felt unusually quiet and empty, with an atmosphere that suggested systematic absence rather than the typical evening calm of family members engaged in their individual activities and routines. Have you ever returned home expecting normal family communication only to discover that everyone you love and financially support had deliberately excluded you from experiences your money created while celebrating your absence as successful manipulation? That's exactly what I was beginning to understand, as evidence accumulated that my family's silence was coordinated rather than coincidental. The phone call I was about to make would expose the cruel extent of their conspiracy and begin the most devastating financial reckoning in our family's history. The devastating phone call that would reveal my family's calculated betrayal began when I finally reached my father, Donald, through his emergency contact number, expecting a simple explanation for the unusual quiet and empty houses that had greeted my return from an intensive week of software development deadlines and client deliverables. "Dad, where is everyone?" I asked, assuming there had been some miscommunication about family gathering timing or that vacation coordination had encountered last-minute changes requiring different departure schedules or travel logistics that I hadn't been informed about. "We're at the beach resort in South Carolina," Donald replied with casual indifference, his tone suggesting that my absence was expected rather than surprising. "I assumed you were staying with Aunt Linda for the holidays since you weren't responding to family messages about the vacation plans." The suggestion that I was with Aunt Linda, who lived in a different state and whom I hadn't visited in over a year, was clearly a fabricated excuse designed to explain my absence to anyone who might question why the family's primary financial contributor wasn't participating in the luxury vacation she had unknowingly funded. "Dad, I was never invited to any South Carolina vacation," I said, my confusion beginning to transform into suspicion about the deliberate nature of my exclusion. "And there haven't been any family messages about beach trips or holiday travel plans in any communications I've received recently." "Well, we figured you were too focused on your software projects to join family vacations," Donald responded defensively. "And Marcus mentioned that you probably wouldn't want to come anyway since you're always stressed about work deadlines and client meetings." The characterization of my career dedication as incompatibility with family enjoyment was particularly insulting, considering that my software projects and work deadlines were generating the income that funded their luxury beach resort accommodations, rental houses, prepaid activities, and gourmet dining experiences. "My work schedule is demanding but manageable for planned family vacations," I replied. "And I specifically keep holiday periods available for family time." "When did you plan this South Carolina trip? And why wasn't I included in any coordination discussions or travel arrangements?" The silence that followed my questions was long enough to suggest that Donald was consulting with other family members about how to respond to inquiries they hadn't anticipated, apparently having assumed that my exclusion would go unnoticed or unchallenged until after their vacation was completed. "The beach vacation was planned over several weeks," Donald finally admitted, "but we handled most of the coordination through text messaging and family group planning sessions. Maybe there were technical issues with your phone service or scheduling conflicts that prevented you from participating in the planning discussions." The vague explanation about technical issues and scheduling conflicts was obviously fabricated, because my phone service was perfect, and my schedule had been specifically managed to accommodate potential holiday family activities that never materialized into actual invitations or communication. "What family group planning sessions?" I asked directly, beginning to understand that my relatives had been coordinating extensive vacation arrangements without any intention of including the person who was funding their entire holiday experience through automatic payments and financial authorizations. "Marcus organized most of the planning through family group messages and coordination calls," Donald said, his discomfort with my questions becoming obvious as he realized that his explanations were revealing the deliberate nature of my exclusion rather than supporting claims of accidental miscommunication. The conversation ended with Donald promising to investigate the communication issues and ensure that I was included in future family coordination efforts, but his tone suggested that my questions were inconvenient rather than legitimate concerns about systematic exclusion from experiences I was financing without my knowledge. 2 hours after my conversation with Donald, My phone buzzed with a forwarded message that Marcus had accidentally sent to me instead of the family group chat, revealing the shocking truth about my exclusion and their celebration of successfully manipulating me into funding their vacation without requiring my participation or presence. She's not coming? Perfect. It worked. Family vacation without the programmer constantly checking her phone and talking about work. Marcus's message read, clearly intended for other family members who were celebrating my absence from the vacation I had unknowingly funded through comprehensive advance payments and automated financial arrangements. The accidental message was followed immediately by Marcus's panicked attempt to retrieve the text, but the damage was complete, as I finally understood that my exclusion wasn't the result of miscommunication or scheduling conflicts. It was a deliberate conspiracy designed to exploit my financial resources while eliminating my presence from family experiences they wanted to enjoy without me. Shit! That wasn't supposed to go to Olivia, Marcus texted frantically. Ignore that message. There was a group chat error and some texts got misdirected to the wrong contacts. But the group chat error explanation couldn't erase the evidence that my family had been actively celebrating my exclusion while enjoying luxury accommodations, gourmet meals, rental cars, and prepaid activities that existed entirely because of my financial contributions and advance planning arrangements. The realization that 19 family members had coordinated to exclude me from vacation planning while ensuring continued access to my financial resources was both heartbreaking and illuminating about their true priorities and their view of my role in family relationships as purely transactional rather than emotionally meaningful. Family vacation without the programmer constantly checking her phone and talking about work. I repeated Marcus's words, understanding that my relatives viewed my presence as interference rather than participation, and my financial contributions as entitlements rather than generous gifts that deserved gratitude and inclusion in planning. The systematic nature of their exclusion required coordination and planning that involved multiple family members across different households, suggesting that my elimination from their vacation experience had been discussed, agreed upon, and executed with deliberate precision and conscious cruelty. But what my family had failed to consider was that their conspiracy to exclude me while exploiting my financial resources had just provided me with complete moral justification for implementing the most devastating vacation destruction in our family's history, because every reservation, rental agreement, and prepaid activity was booked under my name and secured through my credit cards. The vacation they were enjoying at my expense while celebrating my absence was about to experience some very sudden and catastrophic changes, because their celebration of successfully eliminating me from my own vacation had just given me unlimited authority to eliminate their accommodations while they were already at their destination. Have you ever discovered that people you loved and financially supported had been systematically conspiring to exclude you from experiences your money created while celebrating your absence as successful manipulation? That's exactly what I was experiencing as Marcus's accidental message exposed their cruel conspiracy and provided me with perfect justification for the comprehensive vacation destruction I was about to implement. But their celebration of successfully eliminating the programmer from their vacation was about to transform into panic, as they learned what happens when you bite the hand that funds your luxury lifestyle while treating that hand as disposable and unwelcome. The moment of devastating clarity that followed Marcus's accidental revelation about their successful conspiracy to exclude me while enjoying my financial support was also the moment I realized that their systematic exploitation had just provided me with complete moral justification for implementing the most comprehensive vacation destruction imaginable. Standing in my empty house while 19 family members celebrated their successful manipulation of the person funding their luxury South Carolina resort experience, I began calculating exactly how much power their conspiracy had accidentally given me over their ability to continue enjoying accommodations, activities, and services that existed entirely at my discretion and financial authorization. The comprehensive vacation package I had unknowingly funded included luxury beachfront resort rooms for multiple families, premium rental vehicles for transportation, prepaid activities like deep-sea fishing and guided tours, restaurant reservations at expensive establishments, and entertainment expenses for nearly 3 weeks of holiday celebration totaling $18,700. Clark family vacation bookings include luxury beachfront accommodations, rental cars, prepaid activities, restaurant reservations, and entertainment packages, I confirmed while reviewing my credit card statements and automated payment confirmations that revealed the staggering scope of expenses they had authorized without my knowledge or explicit consent. But more importantly, every single reservation, booking, and prepaid service was registered under my name and secured through my credit cards, giving me immediate authority to modify, cancel, or revoke access to accommodations and services they were currently enjoying at my expense while celebrating my deliberate exclusion. The two-phase revenge plan that crystallized in my mind was both elegant and devastating. First, destroy their current vacation by systematically eliminating all accommodations and services while they were already at their destination. Then permanently end their access to my financial resources for any future family activities or lifestyle subsidization. Phase 1 will teach them what happens when you celebrate excluding someone from experiences they finance, I said to myself as I began making the phone calls that would collapse their vacation in real time. Phase 2 will ensure they never again have the opportunity to exploit my generosity while treating my presence as unwelcome interference. The first call was to the luxury beachfront resort where my family was staying, explaining that I needed to cancel all reservations immediately due to unauthorized use of my credit cards and identity theft concerns that required immediate investigation and booking revocation. Ms. Clark, we show 7 rooms booked under your name for the extended Clark family group, the resort manager confirmed. These are substantial premium beachfront accommodations with ocean views and resort amenities. Are you certain you want to cancel all reservations effective immediately? I am completely certain, I replied. The bookings were made without my knowledge or consent by family members who are using my credit cards fraudulently while deliberately excluding me from the vacation I unknowingly funded. I want all rooms canceled tonight, and the credit card authorizations revoked immediately. The resort manager explained that immediate cancellation would require the current occupants to vacate the premises by morning checkout, creating exactly the kind of accommodation crisis that would teach my family about the practical consequences of their financial exploitation and deliberate exclusion from experiences they were enjoying. The second call was to the rental car agency, where I explained that vehicles currently being used by my family were part of unauthorized transactions that needed to be terminated immediately with vehicle recovery and returned to rental locations. We can dispatch recovery teams to collect the vehicles tonight, the rental agent confirmed, but this will leave your family members without transportation during their vacation. Are you prepared for that level of disruption to their travel experience? They're not my family members when they're celebrating my exclusion from experiences I'm financing, I replied. They're unauthorized users of my credit cards, and I want the vehicles recovered immediately regardless of their inconvenience or transportation difficulties. The third call was to the tour company that provided deep-sea fishing, dolphin watching, and other premium activities that my family was scheduled to enjoy throughout their extended vacation, canceling all bookings and requesting immediate refunds for prepaid services. Ms. Clark, these cancellations will affect 19 people across multiple activities, the tour coordinator warned, and some of the experiences are already scheduled for tomorrow morning. The disruption will be significant and immediate. The disruption is entirely appropriate, I confirmed, given that these people used my credit cards without permission, while deliberately excluding me from the vacation I unknowingly funded through automated payment systems they established without my ongoing consent. The systematic cancellation of accommodations, transportation, activities, and restaurant reservations was creating a comprehensive vacation collapse that would leave my family stranded at their holiday destination without the luxury services they had been enjoying at my expense while celebrating my absence. But the most satisfying aspect of the cancellation process was knowing that my family's first indication of problems would come when resort staff knocked on their doors at dawn to inform them that their rooms had been canceled and they needed to vacate immediately with all their belongings. The booking cancellations will take effect between 5 and 6 a.m., I confirmed with each service provider, ensuring that the unauthorized users of my credit cards understand the consequences of their fraud and exploitation first thing in the morning. The comprehensive scope of services being canceled meant that my family would wake up to discover that their accommodations, transportation, activities, and dining reservations had simultaneously disappeared, leaving 19 people without any of the vacation infrastructure I had provided while they celebrated my exclusion. Phase 1 complete, I said to myself as I finished the last cancellation call. Now they get to experience what their South Carolina vacation looks like without my financial support, followed by permanent elimination of future access to my resources for any family activities. The text message I sent to the family group chat that had excluded me was simple and perfectly ambiguous. Have fun. The brevity of the message would initially seem supportive, but they would soon understand it as notification that their financial lifeline had been permanently severed, and their celebration of my exclusion had triggered consequences they never anticipated. But while my family was sleeping peacefully in resort rooms that would soon be unavailable, I was already planning phase 2 of their education about the consequences of systematic financial exploitation, combined with deliberate social exclusion and emotional cruelty. The permanent termination of my financial support for family activities would ensure that their South Carolina vacation collapse was just the beginning of comprehensive lifestyle changes that would teach them the true cost of treating generous family members as disposable ATMs whose presence was unwelcome but whose money was essential. Have you ever had the power to destroy an entire vacation while the people who excluded you were sleeping peacefully in accommodations you were paying for without their knowledge or gratitude? The satisfaction of implementing justice while they remained unaware was exceeded only by the knowledge that their mourning would bring complete understanding of how much they had taken for granted. Their celebration of successfully excluding the programmer from their vacation was about to transform into the most expensive wake-up call in family history as they learned the difference between financial independence and subsidized luxury that could disappear as quickly as it had been provided. The systematic destruction of my family's vacation infrastructure began at exactly 5:47 a.m. when resort security started knocking on doors to inform 19 family members that their accommodations had been canceled and they needed to vacate the premises immediately due to credit card authorization issues and fraud concerns that required immediate investigation. My phone, which had been silent throughout the night while I slept peacefully in my own home knowing that justice was being served, began exploding with missed calls, frantic text messages, and desperate voicemails as my family's luxury South Carolina vacation collapsed around them in real time with devastating precision and coordination. "Olivia, there's some kind of mistake with the hotel reservations," my mother Sharon's first panicked message read. "They're saying our rooms are canceled and we have to leave immediately. Please call the resort and fix whatever credit card problem is causing this confusion and disruption." The assumption that their accommodation crisis was a mistake or confusion rather than deliberate consequence of their conspiracy revealed that my family still didn't understand the connection between their systematic exclusion and the sudden elimination of services I had been providing without their knowledge or appreciation. But as additional service cancellations continued throughout the morning, the comprehensive nature of their vacation collapse made it impossible to dismiss as coincidental problems rather than coordinated retaliation for their financial exploitation and deliberate exclusion from experiences my money had created. "The rental cars are being repossessed," Marcus texted frantically, "and the deep-sea fishing company says our bookings are canceled. Something is seriously wrong with all the vacation arrangements, and we need you to call these companies immediately to resolve the situation." The growing panic in family messages revealed that they were beginning to understand that their accommodation, transportation, and activity problems were related, but they still hadn't grasped that their vacation collapse was intentional rather than technical difficulties or administrative errors. By 7:30 a.m., my phone showed 137 missed calls from various family members who were experiencing simultaneous crises with hotels, rental agencies, tour companies, and restaurants that had all canceled their bookings and terminated services overnight without warning or explanation. "Olivia, please answer your phone," my father Donald's increasingly desperate voicemails pleaded. "We're stranded at the resort with 19 people. No rooms, no cars, and no activities. All of our vacation arrangements are falling apart, and the service providers are saying the credit card authorizations were revoked. The realization that credit card authorizations had been revoked rather than experiencing technical problems was beginning to dawn on family members who were starting to understand that their vacation collapse might be connected to the person they had systematically excluded while exploiting her financial resources. "Is this because we didn't invite you to the vacation?" Marcus's text message asked directly, finally acknowledging the connection between their exclusion conspiracy and the comprehensive elimination of services that had made their holiday experience possible. But the most satisfying message came from my cousin Jennifer, whose family had been particularly vocal about celebrating my absence from vacation planning while ensuring that their children could enjoy premium activities and accommodations at my expense. "The resort manager says that Olivia Clark canceled all the reservations and reported unauthorized use of her credit cards," Jennifer texted to the family group chat. "Are we really stranded because Olivia is angry about not being invited on the vacation she was apparently paying for?" The question revealed that my family was finally beginning to understand that their systematic financial exploitation, combined with deliberate social exclusion, had consequences that extended beyond hurt feelings, to include elimination of the luxury lifestyle they had been taking for granted. The restaurant reservations at expensive establishments throughout their vacation were also being canceled as managers called to confirm that the Clark family bookings were no longer valid and that tables would be released to other customers with confirmed payment arrangements. Premium dining reservations for 19 people have been canceled effective immediately, restaurants confirmed when family members called to protest. The booking authority has revoked all authorizations and requested full refunds for prepaid meals and entertainment packages. The comprehensive elimination of dining arrangements meant that my family's vacation experience had been reduced from luxury resort amenities to scrambling for basic accommodations and affordable meals, while managing 19 people without transportation or planned activities. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of their crisis was the way different family members began blaming each other for the conspiracy that had triggered my retaliation, as the practical consequences of their exclusion plot became impossible to ignore or minimize. "This is Marcus's fault for sending that stupid message about excluding Olivia," some relatives were texting. "If he hadn't revealed the plan, we wouldn't be dealing with canceled reservations and stranded family members. Everyone agreed to leave Olivia out of the planning," other family members replied. "So we're all responsible for this situation and need to figure out how to fix it before the vacation is completely ruined." The finger-pointing and blame distribution revealed that my family's unity in excluding me was fracturing under the pressure of facing consequences for their collective betrayal. As individual families began calculating their personal losses from the vacation collapse. "My kids are crying because the fishing trip is canceled," one relative complained, "and we don't have money to pay for new hotel rooms or activities. This vacation is turning into a disaster because of family drama that should have been handled differently." The characterization of systematic financial exploitation as family drama that should have been handled differently revealed that some relatives still didn't fully understand the moral implications of their conspiracy or the appropriateness of my response to their betrayal. Meanwhile, my phone continued buzzing with increasingly desperate attempts to reach me, as family members began offering apologies, promises of changed behavior, and guarantees that future vacation planning would include me if I would only restore their current accommodations and services. "We'll invite you to every family vacation from now on," Sharon promised in a voicemail, "and we'll make sure you're included in all planning discussions. Please call the resort and restore our room reservations so we can finish this family holiday together." But the promises of future inclusion rang hollow when they were motivated by desperation about losing luxury accommodations, rather than genuine remorse about systematic exclusion and financial exploitation that had characterized our family relationships for years. The most satisfying aspect of their comprehensive vacation collapse was knowing that 19 family members were learning simultaneous lessons about the practical value of the family member they had conspired to exclude, while celebrating their successful manipulation of her financial resources. Have you ever implemented perfect justice that taught entitled people exactly what their lives looked like without the support they had been taking for granted while treating you as disposable? Their frantic calls and desperate messages were exactly the accountability that years of financial exploitation and emotional exclusion had earned. But their vacation collapse was only phase one of their education about the consequences of systematic exclusion combined with financial abuse, as they were about to discover that some relationships, once severed through deliberate cruelty, could never be restored through panic-motivated promises and desperate bargaining. The permanent transformation of my relationship with family members who had systematically exploited my financial resources while celebrating my exclusion from experiences I funded was completed during my own luxury vacation to Switzerland and Austria, where I used the money that had been budgeted for their destroyed South Carolina trip to create the most peaceful and fulfilling holiday experience of my adult life. The European vacation I planned for myself featured mountain resorts, cultural excursions, gourmet dining, and winter activities that provided exactly the kind of relaxation and enjoyment that I had been financing for ungrateful relatives who treated my generosity as entitlement while excluding me from the benefits of my own investments. Solo travel allows complete focus on personal interests and preferences, the travel concierge observed as I planned activities based solely on my desires, rather than coordinating with 19 family members who had never shown equivalent consideration for my participation or enjoyment. The social media posts I shared from Europe showed spectacular alpine scenery, elegant dining experiences, and luxury accommodations that created a stark contrast with my family's continued struggles to salvage their collapsed South Carolina vacation while scrambling for basic accommodations and affordable meals. Peaceful holiday in the Swiss Alps. I captioned photos of my resort suite and gourmet breakfast. Sometimes the best family time is time spent away from people who mistake your generosity for an obligation while treating your presence as unwelcome. The indirect reference to family members who had exploited my resources while excluding me from experiences was directed at relatives who were undoubtedly monitoring my social media while dealing with the ongoing consequences of their vacation collapse and their growing understanding that my financial support had been permanently eliminated. Meanwhile, my family's return from their ruined South Carolina trip was accompanied by desperate attempts to schedule family meetings, arrange reconciliation conversations, and restore access to financial resources they had finally realized were voluntary rather than obligatory aspects of our relationships. "We need to talk about what happened during the vacation," Donald called to say, "and discuss how we can rebuild family relationships that obviously became strained due to communication problems and misunderstandings about planning and financial arrangements." The euphemistic language about communication problems and misunderstandings revealed that my family still hadn't fully accepted responsibility for their systematic conspiracy to exclude me while exploiting my financial resources for luxury experiences I wasn't permitted to enjoy. "There weren't any communication problems," I replied calmly from my Swiss resort. "You deliberately excluded me from vacation planning while using my credit cards to fund accommodations, activities, and services for 19 family members. That's financial exploitation, not miscommunication." The directness of my response apparently shocked Donald, who had expected that sufficient time and diplomatic language might allow them to restore access to my financial support without fully acknowledging the moral implications of their betrayal and systematic abuse. Family members should forgive each other's mistakes and work together to maintain relationships that are more important than temporary disagreements about vacation planning, Donald continued, apparently treating systematic financial abuse as a temporary disagreement that could be resolved through forgiveness rather than accountability. "Systematic financial exploitation while celebrating my exclusion isn't a mistake that gets forgiven," I replied while enjoying a gourmet alpine dinner. "It's a pattern of abuse that gets permanently ended through elimination of the resources you've been taking for granted." The conversation revealed that my family's attempts at reconciliation were motivated by their desire to restore access to my financial support, rather than genuine remorse about their treatment of someone who had been generously funding their lifestyle while being systematically excluded from family experiences and emotional consideration. "Future family vacations won't be the same without your financial contributions," Marcus admitted during a separate conversation, and we realize now that we took your support for granted while not appreciating your presence and participation in family activities. The acknowledgement that family vacations wouldn't be the same without my financial contributions was exactly the kind of honest recognition that should have prevented their exclusion conspiracy, but it was too late to restore relationships they had permanently damaged through their greed and systematic cruelty. You'll need to plan family vacations based on what you can afford, rather than what I can fund, I replied while skiing pristine alpine slopes. Because people who celebrate excluding someone from experiences they finance don't deserve continued financial support or future generosity. The finality in my statement was apparently beginning to penetrate their understanding, as family members started to realize that their financial exploitation had eliminated access to resources they had been depending on for years of luxury lifestyle choices and subsidized experiences. 6 months after their vacation collapse, I received updates from relatives who were struggling to maintain the same level of family gathering experiences without access to my financial resources and comprehensive planning coordination that had made their previous celebrations possible. Family reunions are much smaller now, my Aunt Linda reported, because most people can't afford the resort accommodations and premium activities that Olivia used to provide for everyone. The reduction in family gathering size and quality was exactly the natural consequence of eliminating financial subsidies that had been creating artificially luxurious experiences for people who had never appreciated the source of their comfort and entertainment. Marcus is having trouble organizing any family events, another relative mentioned, because he doesn't have the budget or planning experience that Olivia provided for years of successful family vacations and celebrations. The practical difficulties that family members were experiencing in maintaining their preferred lifestyle without my support validated every aspect of my decision to permanently end relationships built on financial exploitation rather than genuine mutual affection and respect. But perhaps the most satisfying outcome of eliminating toxic family relationships was discovering the peace and contentment that came from investing my resources in experiences and relationships that actually appreciated and reciprocated my generosity, rather than taking it for granted while excluding me from benefits. Your family's conspiracy to exclude you while using your money revealed their true character, my therapist observed during a session I attended via video call from Vienna. And your decision to eliminate that exploitation created space for healthier relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. The wisdom of choosing relationships based on mutual appreciation rather than blood connection had become obvious through the contrast between my peaceful European travels and the ongoing family drama that continued to affect relatives who were still trying to recreate luxury experiences they could no longer afford. Have you ever discovered that eliminating toxic people's access to your resources created immediate peace and long-term happiness that exceeded anything their presence had ever provided? Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is revealing their true character clearly enough that you can make informed decisions about their place in your future. The family members who celebrated excluding me from experiences I funded learned exactly what their gatherings looked like without my financial support, while I learned that chosen solitude and genuine appreciation from new relationships was infinitely preferable to forced generosity toward people who mistake kindness for weakness and presence for inconvenience. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share your experiences in the comments below. Remember that people who exclude you from family experiences while expecting you to fund them will quickly learn your value when those funds disappear. And sometimes the best response to systematic exploitation is to let people experience what they actually contribute without your subsidizing their comfort. See you in our next story here on Her Sweet Revenge.